Hey guys, Btoach here, back with a brand new video. Today we're going to be doing a review on 3 different mouse pads. We have the SteelSeries QCK Performance lineup. Before we get into the video, I would just like to say that these pads were sent out to me by SteelSeries, but these are still going to be 100% my own words. Let's get into the video. Alrighty guys, so here we have all 3 pads. Before we talk about what these pads have in differences, I'd like to talk about what these pads share. So first of all these pads are going to come with the same stitch edges. These pads are all going to come in black color, and that's all they have for right now. Now, I don't know about the future, whether they're going to release some designs or maybe some partnership with some pro teams, esports teams, but we'll see what happens in the future. But as for right now, you can only get them in black, and they're all using the same rubber base here. It's not a polyurethane base, but honestly, it's one of the better rubber bases that I've used. The stitching here is below the surface, if not perfectly in line with the surface, but on most of the edges here, for me, they're below the surface, which is very impressive from SteelSeries, to be 100% honest with you. So I'm impressed with that. Like I said, the base is all right. I don't like how firm it is personally. That's just my personal thing. But it is nice. It does feel quite consistent. The stickiness of the surface, or the base, sorry. I can actually show you that if I take these pads off. It's not bad. It's cool. It does not move in game, which that's all I could really ask for. And it doesn't stick to your desk, which is quite nice. Other than that, though, there's not much more to talk about the base and stitching here. It is quite standard across most of the high-end pads. Now, we aren't getting a polyurethane base here. We are just getting a rubber base. But like I said, it isn't too bad. The implementation here is actually quite well done, and I'm quite impressed with the base here. So let's talk about the individual pads and how these pads differ from each other. So we do have the QCK control here. The control pad here, obviously it is going to be a control pad. It is quite slow. I do like the way it plays. A lot of people didn't like this pad, I do believe, due to the texture. I'm a texture pad fan, so this doesn't feel too bad to me. It doesn't really remind me of anything specifically, maybe like a very light textured hien, but it doesn't remind me of a pad specifically just because of how slow it is. It does play, like I said, pretty well. Like, it is slow. I did play a lot of Siege with this and CS2. Performs well in both games. I can't complain with it whatsoever. The dynamic and static friction are quite high on this pad. I would say the static friction is a little bit higher than the dynamic. It does feel a little bit wide open, but you do have a nice stopping power, and then the starting of the mouse is a little bit heavier or harder to do than when you're just gliding around. Do I give this pad a thumbs up? I would say yes. I would say go for this. This is definitely interesting in my opinion. If you can get it for a good price, I would suggest picking it up. For retail, I would say it's a good buy. It is a nice control pad. You are gonna get a rolled up pad, but these did go flat pretty easily. I wouldn't say it rolled flat as some other rolled up pads that I have, just like as easy as those did, but I did just lay a glass mouse pad box on top of this for like 2 days, and it was fine after that. So after you initially roll them out, they should be fine, and you shouldn't have an issue with them curling back up on you. Now I'd like to talk about the balance. So this is going to be what most people are familiar with. This does share the same surface as the normal QCK. Now, it does feel more refined, which I believe they did do an improvement on the surface. The weave just feels tighter in my opinion. It feels less, there's less resistance on the surface. The original QCK, just the normal series, there's resistance on my skin to the surface. Now, I don't know if it's because I have dry skin and it may be rough or something, and I'm catching like the dry skin on on the weave, but this does feel smoother and it does play, in my opinion, better. The real question is it worth spending the extra $15 to $30 depending on where you live to get this over a QCK for $20 or $10 depending on where you live? I would say for the size, I do have a regular QCK here. I do believe it's bigger. Yeah, it's much bigger. For the size, and you're getting stitch edges, the base does perform better than the rubber base on the normal QCK here. This thing sucks in my opinion. I mean, like, I paid $20 for this thing, so I can't actually really complain too much. It's just a pad if I need a pad, right? But the base does perform much better on this. It is thicker too. These are 3.5 millimeters thick. All three of them are the same. When the normal QCK, I believe, is 2 millimeters thick, you can get the QCK heavy, which is going to improve that a little bit. But I do believe that this would be a buy over the normal QCK. Now, if you can find one of these used, I would definitely say go for it. But like I said, if you're just trying to stick to a budget and you want to go for that QCK surface, maybe go with the normal version. But it's really up to you what you're truly looking to get into. If you're looking to get into a more enthusiast level pad, go with something like this. I do believe that SteelSeries did hit a nice threshold here with what we received in this product, and I think they did a good job overall. Not much more to talk about the balance here. Like I said, it does share the surface with the normal QCK, so most people that use the QCK can know what this pad feels like already. Like I said, that resistance on my skin, that's really the only differences I noticed. The speed and the way that it plays basically the same to me, just with that upgraded base. Now for the main event here, in my opinion, is the speed. My favorite out of the three. I think everybody's favorite out of the three. They did a really good job with this thing. It really reminds me of a Raiden. I want to call it a Raiden clone, but I also don't want to call it a Raiden clone. If you look at the weave does look tighter than a Raiden, but honestly, it plays just the same. Like, it's just a very fast, nice feeling pad. With the mixture of the firmer base, you do get a nice consistent feeling speed pad, which is very nice. I do enjoy this pad a lot. It's very fun to play Call of Duty on. I can say there's no, in my opinion, cons with this pad besides the base. Now, I would love a polyurethane base in a soft firmness. I would like a little bit more plushiness to my pad and just a tiny bit more thickness, but that's just my personal opinion. The surface here is great. The stitching here is great. The only thing I can really nitpick about these three pads would be the base. I did reach out to SteelSeries and tell them that that is something that I would improve, is a polyurethane base, because if you do choose the right custom mixture of polyurethane, you can get something that rolls out flat right from the second that you pull it out of the box, and there's no period where you have to flatten it trying to lay something on top or something like that. But back to the surface here on the speed, like I said, it plays very fast. It has a very low static and dynamic friction. It has a nice stopping power as well. It doesn't stop as well as some speed pads that I've used, but it definitely has a good stopping power to it, and you still can stop your mouse quite easily. Like I said, playing Call of Duty with this thing, it performs very well. I played a tiny bit of Apex with it, not very much. I was just kind of in that Warzone grind. But playing Apex on this pad, it works very well as well. I mean, like, it is in my opinion, a true speed pad. So if you guys are looking for a true speed pad, I would say go for this thing. I mean, like, for the price point, I believe it's 55 Canadian and 35 American, if I'm not wrong. I believe those are the price points. But for that price, this is a very good pad. The only thing I would say that rivals this pad at the price point would maybe be the Infinity Mice Speed V2. I think it's a little bit more expensive if I'm not wrong, but you could swing for the extra $5 to $10 and get a polyurethane base. but I'm not saying that this is a bad pad whatsoever. I would say this rivals that pad very well. I would say that you're going to get a very similar performance out of both. I would suggest both of those pads. I wouldn't suggest one over the other. I would say if you're looking for colors or something like that, maybe go with the Infinity mice. If you're looking for just a nice pad, you're used to SteelSeries as a company, and you like the black, and you want to go with a QCK, I would suggest this pad. The surfaces are quite similar, but like I said, for those certain reasons, you can go with either one. Altogether, though, guys, all three of these pads, they perform very well. I'm quite impressed with the quality that came out with these pads. I was honestly expecting less. I do believe that SteelSeries has made a comeback, and I do really want to see what they have to do in the future. I would like to see some nice lightweight mice from them, some more mouse pads, maybe a V2 lineup for these performance pads, getting a polyurethane base, maybe a different surface on the balance, something that differs from the regular QCK. Just different things like that, right? Maybe seeing some different colors. We'll see what happens in the future, but I do believe this is a step in the right direction for SteelSeries, and I believe that they're making a step in the right direction for the certain crowd that they want to tailor to the hyper enthusiast and the hyper like pro level player for esports, right? And I think that's what SteelSeries has always tried to cater to, but then they kind of went to the general masses, but now they're kind of back for a more esports centered product, which I really like, and I'm really happy that they came out with these pads, like I said, and I hope to see a lot of better stuff in the future. Thank you guys very much for watching. I appreciate you guys checking out the channel. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.